The UFC has dropped a couple of bombshells this week, which means it's time for Dodson's Corner News.
I said it was last week already. We're kind of late to the party.
We're kind of late to it.
But we've had a chance to marinate our thoughts.
Yeah.
You know? We're not Lucas Trace here at Bedtime MMA who are rushing out these responses. We've had time to carefully think out for weeks about what we're going to say today, right, Dylan? We have really scripted out this whole video.
Not like we haven't already talked about the first piece of news, but apparently it's been leaked that Topuria, Islam, and Charles have all started training camps about 8 weeks out from UFC 317.
Yeah. So, I mean, Topuria, he confirmed it. He said camp has begun. So that's pretty much confirmed. There's also been pretty reliable sources saying that he is fighting for a real title at the top of the card.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. That's good news. We don't want him fighting, just for a number one contender spot. Charles post on his Instagram story the return, or I guess maybe it was a real post, but the return could mean anything. It could mean 318. It could mean who knows when, right? Maybe he just has a fight booked, but the fact that they posted on the same day really sparked a lot of
and then Islam posted he posted something too about
some reporter leaked it that he was starting a camp, and Khabib also posted on his story a picture of a bull. The Matador.
So we have that whole whatever is going on there, the mess. But we did see this good post on Instagram that kind of broke it down. So Hunter Campbell is a mastermind. He leaks Ilia to start the 317 hype train, and then you wait for 315 results before announcing the opponent. So if JDM wins, it means Ilia versus Charles. If Bilal wins, it means Islam versus Ilia. UFC 315, like that main event means so much. Like it's going to add even more hype. That's the hype behind the UFC 315 main event.
I think it's going to be Makhachev now. I literally planned this video, or I had the title written out, and it was reacting to Ilia versus Charles news, because I was so sure. Like, dude, vacant title makes sense. Islam is guaranteed a title shot. They literally just did what they did with Ilia in a different division. Say, okay, you vacate your belt, you're guaranteed a title shot. Islam, you vacate your belt, you're guaranteed a title shot. And it's been sounding in interviews like Islam is just tired of waiting for Bilal, who they trained together once for a camp. They're not besties. They don't hang out with each other. Screw it, bro. Just fight. It's not
even like they're both Russian. Bro's from Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think where Bilal was from.
Next little bit of news, Lucas. Tell me about it.
Usman, Unk versus Buck. Dude, finally. We've been waiting for this fight. This was the fight.
6 months we've been talking about this fight.
That was supposed to happen, and they made it come together. I think it was a very smart call out from Buckley. He's been getting better at that, calling out fighters who, actually make sense for him, and I think this sets him up very nicely for some sort of either number one contender fight or title shot, depending on how that picture goes. Ian Gary does not deserve a title shot, let's be real.
No.
Beating number 13 ranked Carlos Prates. I'm sorry, bro. Doesn't matter, even if you stepped in on short notice. Buckley win is much better, an Usman win would be much better for Buckley. Depends how Usman looks in this fight. If he looks washed, then it's like you have the argument, Buckley beat washed Colby, he beat washed Usman, he beat washed Thompson. That's not the best, it's a good resume, but it's also at the same time, there is a argument against it, but I think you could say that for pretty much any win.
Yeah, this is going to be, I don't know, this is an interesting fight. I realistically don't know how it's going to play out. I have, the general thoughts of, Usman's going to try to wrestle, Buckley's just going to outpower him, Usman's probably going to get tired, Buckley could land some big shots kind of thing. But I get that it's a fight night main event. It's a very good fight night main event. It's an elite fight night main event. Could have saved it for 317.
Yes.
In the featured fight there.
Yeah, I guess
But then you're not getting 5 rounds, maybe.
True, and this needs to be 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I think all of the welterweight up-and-coming matches need to be 5 rounds. They got to practice, bro, because Bilal ain't stopping for no one. I'm going to say, we'll give our early predictions for the fight and how we think it's going to go. Personally, I think after a more than 2 year layoff for Usman at this point, there's no chance that has helped his career. He is too old at this point. He's been doing too much podcasting. Everyone knows about his knee issues. He has to walk backwards up the stairs. Bro, that is not healthy. I'm sorry. There's just no way. And Buckley is absolutely coming into his prime. He's extremely powerful. He stuffed takedowns from Colby Covington. I think he took Colby Covington down as well. And he just absolutely outworked him, outmuscled him. His cardio looked very strong in that fight as well. And we know how good Colby is in cardio. I think Usman is going to lose this fight pretty handedly.
I think it'll be a Buckley mid-round, ground and pound TKO kind of win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
All right, next piece of news. Jones and Aspinall might be off because the rumors of Aspinall versus Gane, it's the most devastating thing to hear.
I don't trust Chael Sonnen for a second. The dude just... He released one video on YouTube saying that Jones versus Aspinall was done, but just they need to announce it. And then the next video post is Aspinall versus Gane is in the works.
Well, didn't he was one of the guys that was big on the Dricus being hurt thing too, and Dricus is like,
probably.
I'm fine.
100%.
I'm fine, guys.
I bet he was blown in that narrative.
But
he's the... don't get me started.
If you're Aspinall, like, how long can you wait for Gane? Like, you could realistically fight now and then still be ready for that Jones fight.
Yeah, honestly. I don't think you would need much of a camp for Gane.
No.
2 minutes and that's over.
Yeah.
You know? But, let's say Aspinall versus Gane happens.
It's Aspinall round 1 KO.
But it has to be for the heavyweight, like the real heavyweight strap.
Yeah.
They cannot make him defend an interim championship again. How would that make sense? There's no, like, for the first interim, it was Tom desperately wants to fight in his hometown, which happens once every 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It made sense for him to go and fight Curtis Blades there and get the win back over Blades from the injury fight.
Exactly.
Too.
It lined up. Plus, John Jones had a scheduled fight with Stipe. You know? So, that made sense. Right now, if Aspinall were to get booked against Gane for an interim title, Jones doesn't have a fight booked. Hasn't fought since November, so that's going to be like, by the time this would get announced, 7 months, maybe 6 months. And also, Aspinall has been the interim champ for so long. Like, there's no part of this that makes sense.
No, it's all stupid. It's all stupid.
Yeah.
John Jones, we hate you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. But also, talk about the news. Dricus, that we already mentioned, is apparently not hurt. Apparently that was all made up, false narrative, which I mean is good news.
Yeah, I wonder who started that narrative.
So who knows if that fight ends up on the 317 card, maybe.
Dana said in the post-fight press conference on Saturday that Dricus versus Khamzat is done, but it's not at 317, so it'll be at 318.
So then Holloway versus Poirier gets moved to the co-main event of that.
Oh wait.
So maybe it's 319, but that's Ank versus Pereira.
Maybe they could stack a card for once in their damn lives.
Yeah.
You know?
Who knows?
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
But next piece of news, this is very small, but Ian Gary, after his big win over Carlos Prates, is officially the backup fighter for UFC 315 main event.
I mean, it's good to have a backup fighter.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, realistically, I think he loses to both of those fighters.
I would take him against both fighters.
What? You take Ian Gary against...
the vibes of short notice.
Ian Gary, short notice, new mythical fighter.
The vibes. No, I don't think I would actually take him.
No.
But last piece of news, big piece of news. We already mentioned it. UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier. One thing I will say, they have not said that this is the main event.
Really?
I have not.
Dustin said it.
I've made sure to look at the posts. Nothing says main event from what I've seen. Maybe it is, but there's a chance this might not be the main event.
Dustin said it was main eventing Louisiana, so he in his mind he's the main event versus Max Holloway, which it's unfortunate because it means that you can't have any other fight below it. That's for a championship. You know, I would have loved to see Dricus versus Khamzat and Holloway.
Yeah,
versus Poirier.
You can have you can retire as the co-main event. Just ask
100%.
Anthony Smith.
And for a belt too.
Yeah.
Belt. But I think that's a good fight. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there was other matchups to make that are fresher and newer.
He wanted Gaethje.
And he wanted Topuria, which I think are valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
He's
requests.
like, I already beat this guy twice.
Yeah, 100%. And if they're friends,
I mean, the Gaethje fight is probably better just so we can get that easy dub, get that win back from 2 years ago. And I think at this point he cooks Gaethje.
Yeah, I mean, it's another good fight, but I think they're 1-1. It just makes sense to go for it. the reason they want to do this is so that they could have it main event. I think in their ESPN deal they have to have a belt on the line, which is why they made the Masvidal fight originally for a belt. So this makes sense. They need something maybe just to space out the championship fights.
Exactly.
So they use this, which is for a belt but not really for a belt, to headline, and then they just stack it. They need to stack this main event. If this is the only thing that's for a belt,
you need good fights on this card.
100%. Like, you could have saved Usman Buckley for this.
Yeah, you need like high level. You need at least one number one contendership fight. You need ranking fights with hype.
Yeah, and you need prospects like Gene Silva. Throw Gene Silva on this card.
Exactly.
That's going to be a featured fight.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the UFC news. Let us know what fight that we talked about today are you most excited for that is potentially in the works. For me, I mean, it's got to be Islam versus Ilia if that ever happens. But also Holloway versus Poirier is another fight I'm excited for. Make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. We appreciate all the love and support. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.